Part 1. What if the greatest threat to your success, in your career, your business, and even your personal life, comes not from your enemies, but from the very people you pay to help you? What if the foundation you've built your life on is made of sand, ready to wash away with the first turn of the tide? This is not a modern anxiety. It is a timeless warning, delivered 5 centuries ago by a man who stared into the abyss of human nature and refused to look away. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. In the heart of Renaissance Italy, a world of shifting alliances and constant warfare, Machiavelli saw a fatal flaw in the way leaders sought to secure their power. He saw them relying on forces that had no loyalty, no skin in the game, and no motivation beyond a paycheck. He saw them hiring mercenaries. And in his brutal, honest assessment of these hired soldiers, he gave us a powerful metaphor that cuts to the core of our modern world. It's a lesson about the difference between a transactional relationship and a true alliance, between a fair-weather friend and a loyal partner. It is a warning that to build anything that lasts, you cannot rely on those who can be bought. Part 2. The modern problem. There is a strange and unsettling puzzle at the heart of modern professional and social life. We are told that loyalty is a virtue, that commitment is honorable, and that trust is the bedrock of any successful enterprise. And yet, we live in a world that feels increasingly transactional, temporary, and devoid of genuine allegiance. This puzzle begins in the workplace, the old social contract, where an employee offered lifelong loyalty in exchange for lifelong security, is a relic of a bygone era. Today, the landscape is defined by the Great Resignation and the rise of the job hopper. Statistics show that the median tenure for an American worker is now just over 4 years. For younger generations, the numbers are even more stark. One study found that only 23% of workers under 42 expressed a strong interest in remaining with their employer long-term. This isn't necessarily a sign of laziness or a lack of character. It's a rational response to a new reality. Decades of downsizing, layoffs, and the erosion of benefits have taught employees that companies are no longer loyal to them. And so, workers have adapted. Loyalty has become conditional, a calculated exchange of service for salary, ready to be renegotiated the moment a better offer appears. The modern workplace, for many, has become an army of mercenaries. This transactional nature extends beyond the employer-employee relationship and into the world of business itself. Startups and small businesses often find themselves in the position of needing to partner with larger, more powerful corporations to survive, for funding, for distribution, for access to a market. These partnerships are often framed in the language of mutual benefit and shared goals, but they carry a hidden danger. The smaller company becomes dependent on the larger one, its fate tied to a partner whose ultimate interests may not align with its own. If the venture succeeds, the smaller company risks being absorbed, its innovations co-opted, its autonomy lost. If it fails, it is left ruined and abandoned. It is the modern equivalent of borrowing an army from a neighboring king, a dangerous gamble that outsources your security to a foreign power. Perhaps most painfully, we see this dynamic bleed into our personal lives in the form of the fair-weather friend. This is the person who is enthusiastic and present when times are good, when the psychological weather is clear and sunny. They are there for the parties, the celebrations, the moments of success. But when a crisis hits, a job loss, a breakup, a personal struggle, they vanish. Their friendship is revealed to be a form of transaction, an exchange for entertainment or social status, not a bond of genuine loyalty. They are happy to share in your victories, but they will not stand with you in your battles. They are the mercenaries of our social circles. This erosion of loyalty leaves us with a disorienting feeling. It creates a world of anxiety and instability where we are never quite sure who is truly on our side. We are surrounded by people, yet we feel profoundly alone. We build teams, partnerships, and friendships, yet we harbor a nagging suspicion that these bonds are fragile, conditional, and liable to break under the slightest pressure. Why has loyalty become so scarce? And how can we build anything of lasting value in such a world? To find the answer, we must turn to a thinker who saw this problem with brutal clarity 500 years ago. Part 3. The Philosophical Decoding. In the turbulent world of 16th century Italy, a landscape of warring city-states and shifting allegiances, Niccolò Machiavelli served as a diplomat and political advisor for the Republic of Florence. He was not a philosopher of abstract ideals. He was a student of power in its most raw and practical form. His masterwork, The Prince, was not a guide on how a ruler should live, but a ruthless, pragmatic handbook on how a ruler must act to survive in the world as it is. And central to this survival was the question of military force. For Machiavelli, the foundation of any strong state rested on two pillars: good laws and good arms. And, he argued, you could not have one without the other. In chapters 12 and 13 of The Prince, Machiavelli dissects the three types of armies a ruler can command: his own native troops, mercenaries, and auxiliaries. His analysis of the latter two is a masterclass in political realism and a timeless warning about the dangers of relying on others for your security. First, he turns his unsparing gaze on mercenaries, hired soldiers who fight for pay. Machiavelli declares them to be utterly useless and dangerous. His reasoning is simple and devastatingly logical. The only motivation for a mercenary is their wage. This financial bond is weak and cannot compete with the fear of death. You can never pay a man enough to make him willing to die for you. Because their loyalty is purely transactional, they are, in his words, disunited, undisciplined, ambitious, and faithless. In peacetime, they will gladly take your money. But when battle comes, they will either flee or fail you. Furthermore, Machiavelli argues, even a capable mercenary commander is a threat. If he is skilled and ambitious, he will inevitably seek his own glory, not yours. He will either aspire to become the prince himself or oppress you in ways you did not intend. If he is not capable, he will simply lead you to ruin through his incompetence. It is a no-win situation. Machiavelli saw this firsthand in the downfall of Italy, which he blamed squarely on the Italian city-states' over-reliance on mercenary armies, who turned warfare into a kind of theatrical performance, avoiding real risk, and ultimately leaving the nation weak and vulnerable to foreign invasion. Next, Machiavelli considers auxiliary troops, armies borrowed from a more powerful ally. He argues that these are even more dangerous than mercenaries. While mercenaries are disloyal and cowardly, auxiliaries are often skilled, disciplined, and united, but their unity and skill are precisely what make them so perilous. Their loyalty is not to you, but to their own ruler. With auxiliaries, a prince is trapped in another no-win scenario. If they lose the battle, you are left defenseless and ruined. But if they win the battle for you, you become their prisoner. You owe your victory, and therefore your state, to the power of another. You have invited a foreign power into your lands, a power you cannot control, and that now has a foothold from which to dominate you. For Machiavelli, calling on auxiliaries is a sign of desperation and weakness, an act of surrendering your fate to another. He concludes that a wise prince has always avoided these arms and turned to his own, and has been willing rather to lose with them than to conquer with the others, not deeming that a real victory which is gained with the arms of others. This leads to Machiavelli's unequivocal solution. The only reliable force is a native army, composed of one's own subjects, citizens, or dependents. These are the only troops with a true stake in the outcome. Their loyalty is not to a paycheck or a foreign king, but to their own homes, their own families, and their own state. Their survival is intertwined with the prince's survival. They fight not just for the prince, but for themselves. This is the only foundation for true security. For Machiavelli, a prince's primary duty, his only real profession, is the art of war. And the core of that art is not just strategy or tactics, but the cultivation of a loyal, self-reliant force. To depend on mercenaries or auxiliaries is to build your house on sand, to place your destiny in the hands of fortune. To build your own army is to seize control of your own fate, to ground your power in your own virtù, your own skill, prowess, and strength. This is not merely a lesson in military strategy. It is a profound political and psychological insight. It is a statement that true power cannot be borrowed or bought. It must be cultivated from within. Any strength that is outsourced is an illusion, and any loyalty that is for sale is no loyalty at all. Part 4. The application in today's world. Machiavelli's warning about armies is a powerful metaphor that unlocks the hidden dynamics of our modern world. Once you see the distinction between native troops, mercenaries, and auxiliaries, you begin to see it everywhere. In our careers, our businesses, and our relationships. The battlefield has changed, but the principles of loyalty and self-reliance remain the same. Consider the modern workplace. The mercenary employee is the quintessential figure of our transactional corporate culture. This is the worker motivated solely by compensation and title. They possess no deep-seated loyalty to the company's mission or values. They are, in Machiavelli's words, driven by their own ambition and greed for profit. Like the mercenary soldiers of old, they will perform their duties as long as the pay is good and the risks are low. But the moment a rival company offers a better contract, a higher salary, a more prestigious title, their loyalty evaporates. They will abandon their post without a second thought, because their commitment was never to the state, but only to themselves. The mercenary commander is the star employee who is highly skilled but cannot be trusted. They use the company's resources to build their own personal brand, and when they have gained enough reputation, they will leave to start their own venture, often becoming a direct competitor. Then there is the auxiliary army of the business world. This is the powerful strategic partner, the venture capital firm, or the corporate giant that a smaller company relies on for its survival. A startup might partner with a massive tech company for its distribution network, just as Pope Julius borrowed troops from the King of Spain. In the short term, this seems like a brilliant move, but it is a dangerous bargain. The startup becomes dependent on a force it cannot control. If the partnership is successful, the larger company, the auxiliary army, reaps the rewards. It may acquire the startup, absorb its technology, and make it a captive in its own victory. If the partnership fails, the startup is left ruined, while the larger corporation, having risked little, simply withdraws its forces and moves on. The startup has outsourced its security and paid the ultimate price. This metaphor extends even to our personal lives, in the form of the fair-weather friend. This is the social mercenary. They are drawn to you by the promise of good times, social status, or personal benefit. They are your ally when the sun is shining and the battles are easy, but they are motivated by their own gratification, not by genuine loyalty. When you face a true crisis, a moment of adversity that requires sacrifice and offers no reward, they will abandon you. They are, as Machiavelli said of mercenaries, useless in the face of real danger. They are the friends who will celebrate your victories, but will not help you fight your wars. So, what is the solution? It is the same one Machiavelli prescribed 500 years ago. You must build your own native army. In your career, this means not just hiring for skill, but for cultural fit and a shared belief in the mission. It means creating an environment where employees feel valued and have a genuine stake in the company's success, transforming them from mercenaries into citizens. In business, it means striving for self-reliance. It means building your own core competencies, owning your own customer relationships, and avoiding dependencies that make you a prisoner to a more powerful ally. It is better, as Machiavelli would say, to grow slowly with your own forces than to achieve a rapid, fragile victory with the forces of another. And in your life, it means investing in true friendships. It means cultivating relationships based not on convenience or transaction, but on mutual trust, shared values, and unwavering support. These are the people who have a stake in your well-being, whose happiness is intertwined with your own. They are your native troops, the only army that will stand with you when fortune turns against you. Machiavelli's lesson is stark and timeless. Any power that rests on the loyalty of mercenaries is an illusion. True strength, true security, and true success can only be built on a foundation of those who are unequivocally, unshakably on your side. Part 5. The Empowerment and Conclusion. To see the world through Machiavelli's eyes is to see a landscape of calculation, self-interest, and conditional loyalty. It is easy to walk away from his philosophy with a sense of cynicism, to conclude that trust is for fools and that everyone is merely a mercenary in disguise. But to do so is to miss his most profound and empowering lesson. Machiavelli's warning is not a call to paranoia, but a call to prudence. He is not telling us to trust no one. He is teaching us how to trust, and who is worthy of that trust. He provides us with a powerful mental framework for navigating a complex world, a way to distinguish between the fragile bonds of transaction and the unbreakable bonds of true allegiance. The lesson is to become a better judge of your forces. When you build a team, start a partnership, or invest in a friendship, ask yourself the Machiavellian questions. What is the true motivation here? Is this person a citizen, fighting for a shared cause? Or are they a mercenary, fighting only for a wage? Are their interests fundamentally aligned with mine, or will they diverge when pressure is applied? Am I building my security on my own strength, or am I making myself a prisoner to the power of another? To recognize the mercenaries in your life is not to condemn them. It is simply to understand their nature and to place them in their proper role. You can hire mercenaries for specific tasks, but you must never entrust them with the defense of the kingdom. You can enjoy the company of fair-weather friends, but you must never rely on them in a crisis. The ultimate empowerment comes from the second half of Machiavelli's prescription, the call to build your own native army. This is an active, creative process. It is the work of inspiring loyalty, not just buying it. It means articulating a mission so compelling that others will want to join you, not for a paycheck, but for a purpose. It means being the kind of leader, partner, and friend who is so fiercely loyal to their people that they earn that same loyalty in return. It is the understanding that the strongest alliances are not forged by contracts, but by a shared fate. In a world that increasingly feels transactional, the cultivation of genuine loyalty is the most radical and powerful strategy of all. It is slower, harder, and requires more of ourselves than simply hiring help. But it is the only path to creating something that can withstand the inevitable turning of fortune's wheel. The mercenary serves you for a price. The auxiliary serves their own master. But your native army, your true team, your real partners, your loyal friends, they don't just serve you. They stand with you. And in that distinction lies the difference between temporary success and a lasting legacy.